As entrepreneurs, there's a reason why we decided to leave our 9 to 5 for an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm here to tell the stories of why we all hustle and grind for our companies. On today's podcast, I'm speaking with Sabrina Osso. So, Sabrina, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. And I have a huge amount of respect for what you do with AlsoSafe, specifically with children in safe households. And so I'm really excited to get into chatting with you today. But first, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. We greatly appreciate it.
Anytime. So, having done research for the show, you've got quite the history, and I think it's really interesting. You've been through a number of different careers. So let's start right now where you're at now with Also Safe. What specifically do you do with Also Safe?
Yes, we combine education and technology to promote safety,
Mhm,
to create and maintain respect in homes, workplaces, and schools. We
mhm,
believe at Also Safe that a safe home, the main ingredient, the key ingredient is respect.
mhm,
You can argue, you can fight, disagree with your partner, your children, but there's always respect
mhm,
where there's no verbal, physical, sexual abuse.
mhm,
So yeah, so as my the tag is also safe, feel safe where you live, learn, work, and play. I am a TEDx speaker, a real estate agent, and a children's book author on creating and maintaining respect in homes, workplaces, and schools. I want to clarify, we're not a nonprofit, we're
mhm,
not a charity. We believe that in order to solve this huge problem of the lack of respect in homes, especially, it won't be resolved if we treat it as a charity where you hold a bucket and you wait for donations. We are a paid service, and we believe that if it's a paid service, it will get resolved. So I just wanted to clarify that. I hope I answered the question.
Oh, you did very well. And so I can see where you're coming from as far as the paid service. And for myself, I agree a lot with that because you don't value something you haven't had to put value up for. So there has to be a value proposition. And in with situations, especially with unsafe houses and with, really poor family dynamics, and we'll define it as that poor family dynamics. Um, there has to be this will to change. If you were a nonprofit, you wouldn't, you know, you're right. It would be seen as something free. Russell Brunson talks about this, where he gives away a free ticket to his $10,000 inner circle to somebody, like usually a family member, and every single person he's given it away to never does anything with it. Never. While these other people are
Wow.
making cajillions of dollars doing it, I think there needs to be that value proposition. So I think it's really interesting that you've done this as a for-profit model, which in this specific situation I like a lot. So awesome. So
Thank you.
when you say that unsafe homes or homes with a lack of respect, is there, you don't have to give like specific names or anything, but is there can you take me into what that home might look like, just so that people can get an idea for, oh, I know somebody whose house like this, or hey, my house is like this, you guys might be able to help me out. Take me into what that looks like when an unsafe home or a home that lacks respect.
Sure, sure. Excellent question. Uh, there is verbal, physical, sexual abuse. There's emotional abuse, financial abuse, mental abuse. So we like to just put it in three buckets, if you will: verbal, physical, sexual abuse, just to kind of keep it simple. Because if someone is hurting you physically, they're not punching you and saying, "Oh, you're great, you're wonderful, you are fantastic." They're mentally messing with you. They're saying you're a piece of garbage, you're nothing, you're worthless. So the mental and emotional abuse is kind of wrapped into the verbal, physical abuse, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, I want to say that there are always warning signs. I want to say, and I always say this on speaking engagements and on interviews. And it is, we at Also Safe, we educate on those warning signs. So let's say you're
Mhm.
dating,
Mhm.
and at first things are going well,
Mhm.
but the love bombing happens, like, I love you, I love you, I love you, and you've only met this person, you've only known this person for a short period of time. It could be a day, a couple of days, a week, a month, and it kind of creeps you out, actually. It kind of creeps you. Maybe at first you're thinking, wow, I found the right one. He or she is so caring and gives me a lot of attention. But that's a warning sign because they are roping you in,
Mm.
you know, and they do it with uh as a mask of kindness, of love, of goodness. But be careful because that will turn soon into why are you wearing that? Don't wear that. I want you all to myself. Cover up. And that could be male or female. I want to make clear there are female victims and there are male victims. We at Also Safe, we pride ourselves on treating this very equally. Not all women are good, not all men are bad. So, and when I say good or bad, I mean where they're abusive or non-abusive, safe, respectful. So a victim could be either or, either male or female. So if you begin to feel controlled, isolated, where you had a lot of friends, you had this active social life, you dressed very fashionably, male or female, and now you're starting to button up or elongating the skirts, or maybe as a man you're wearing baggy clothes or very plain clothes, or you're not you. You're not you. And financially they're trying to control you and guilting you, like, well, I paid for lunch, I paid for dinner, look how great I am, and you're treating me like this. Why are you calling me out on that I don't let you see that friend of yours? That friend is not a good person for you. These are all warning signs. And then the physical abuse starts to happen: pulling hair, pushing, shoving, slapping, spitting, punching. It escalates. And abuse always escalates, always. The next episode will always be worse than the previous. It'll always escalate. Um, and I want to say, children are at the core of what we do, at the core. We are empowering children, I think, in ways that haven't been done before, where we are giving them voice and choice. And there are a lot of good parents out there. There are. But by the same token, there are a lot of bad parents out there, abusive parents, abusive step parents. And I have to say, the children are the ones that are suffering the most. They are automatic victims, automatic, 100%. And I should know I was one of them. I am a survivor of violence. My father beat my mother on a regular basis, and my mother would beat me. So I know firsthand how traumatic that is, how horrific that is. And your life is stolen. You can't think about, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? You can't think about that when you are living in a war zone every single day. And children live in that war zone. And and I want to say that at Also Safe, we respect them, we believe them. I'll go more into the interview about how we give them voice and choice, but I just want to emphasize they are at the core of what we do, and we tell them, and even adults and just the public in general, in speaking engagements and our seminars and workshops, children know who make them feel safe, from teeny tiny through 18 years of age. And if we wait until they are 18 years of age to have agency over their lives, it's too late. They will resort to drugs, alcohol, gang violence, self-harm, self-cutting. They will get involved with the wrong people, repeating the cycle of abuse, whether in friendships, relationships, and ultimately, in the worst case, I would say suicide. They'll commit suicide. So why wait until they're 18, which is what the courts make you do, when children know who make them feel safe? They know who respects them, even if they can't speak, they know. And we should listen to that and believe that. So, uh, yeah, I kind of went, maybe I went, not that I went off on a tangent, but I was elaborate in my explanation, but I think I covered everything.
Yeah, I think it gives people a better idea for what this looks like. And I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to ask the question, is so people can get an image in their head. And I think that was great. No, perfect. So now I always like to dig in and get into people's background. What was the series of events that caused you to start Also Safe, besides your own personal journey on that? What did that look like starting this company?
Yes, well, oranges, the origins. Wow, I've never done that.
Oh, good.
The the origins of Oh So Safe are rooted in dance.
Mhm.
Um, I could not think about dance growing up. I wasn't one of those dancers that started, unfortunately, or I should say, misfortunately, at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, because of my home environment. I couldn't even mention dance. It was no way.
Mhm.
So I didn't start dancing until I moved out, which was 21. But
Mhm.
I always had that in me. It was my DNA to dance. I always loved it, but I had to put it on the way back burner. So uh I started late, but I took teachers that really propelled me to kind of catch up on lost time. And luckily, I live in close proximity to New York. So
Mhm.
I was going to all the three major dance studios, Alvin Ailey, Steps, and Broadway Dance Center.
Mhm.
And I trained hard. I was taking 12 classes a week. I was auditioning. I was all through the tri-state area. And I was getting gigs, but I started writing my one woman show called Home Sweet Home question mark.
Hmm.
And I play different women being abused. She
Hmm.
goes to her good place. That's where the dancing comes in. But then she's pulled back into the terror of violence. The show ends really strong, really empowering. But I did a lot of research for the show, and Andrew, I couldn't believe the statistics that I was finding. So I said to myself, I need to make this into a business, a bona fide business with products and services that could really help people. So that's how, interestingly, Oh So Safe was born out of this one woman show. And I incorporate dance and acting, but more dance in everything that we do at Oh So Safe, especially at schools, because students, children, they respond better when you're performing, especially a taboo subject like home violence. So we use dance and the performing arts as a way to uh, make a taboo subject untaboo. And then we get the feedback, wow, you played my mother, or that's me. The scene that you just did, I feel that way at home. I'm gonna start crying. Like, we're getting such positive feedback with we created a sub entity of Oso Safe called Oso Safe Kids. And it's a YouTube and TikTok where we speak about abuse openly. We speak about respect. We speak about if you are of dating age, what are the warning signs? You're not crazy if dad beat up mom or mom beat up dad or you got beat up. And we're giving them voice and choice. We are saying to kids, all kids, if they're not safe at home, and I know that this is avant-garde and this is very thinking out of the box, but we know how bad the courts are
Mhm.
and child protective services and the whole rigmarole.
Mhm.
So we are saying at Also Safe to all kids that are not safe at home, don't go home. Don't go home. Either stay at school or go to the police and speak out. Speak out. Say what's been going on. We know it's scary, Also Safe kids, but the courts are disappointing. The judges are disappointing. Child protective services are disappointing. All we are left with are the kids' voices. So we are encouraging them to speak out, and we know that it's scary. We know you're going to get beaten even more. You're going to get abused even more. You're going to get threatened even more. And we say it Also Safe, the more they abuse you, the louder you have to get.
Mhm.
So if they can speak out on behalf of their own abuse to the police, 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, 12 years old, 13, 14, 15, who's going to question that?
Yeah.
No one should, because they're saying it. They're saying it. So, and our children's book also explains this, and I could go into that in
Yeah.
the interview,
Yeah.
that we're giving them voice and choice through the book, because the book is also a staple of our core product, the Also Safe certification for properties. And I could elaborate a little bit more on that, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's actually talk about that a little bit because you're also a realtor. And is that something that you integrate into Also Safe and doing and the outreaches you're trying to do? Is that part of what you're trying to do, or is it more I do these things because that funds this, or is there like where does that fit in as far as being a realtor in Also Safe?
Yes. Well, I became a realtor actually, I don't want to say by accident, but I was born into land
Uh-huh.
overseas and here. So and it just made sense to become a real estate agent because of the commission
Yeah.
and also the access that I have to MLSs, properties, landlords, tenants, property owners, property managers, buyers, sellers. And this how do you segues or is such a great tool and asset for Also Safe because um real estate has to change.
Hmm.
How we think about our home has to change. And we are spearheading this with our products and services. And the main component or the main product is the Also Safe certification for properties,
Hmm.
where we are saying to the real estate industry, hire us, we'll get your property Also Safe certified. What does that mean? We have the Also Safe Home Sweet Home package. It consists of a policy, a seminar, an app, and therapists assigned to the property. So we're saying, Mr. and Miss Landlord, property owner, hire us, we'll get your property Also Safe certified. They purchase for $125 per unit
Hmm.
the package. And basically, the policy, the first component is I promise to provide you a safe space for you to live. You, in turn, as my tenant, my resident, you promise to not act in any way, shape, or form abusively. Otherwise, you, the abuser only, gets immediately evicted from the premises. And we go into full knowledge knowing that that would be the consequences. So there's no surprise.
Hmm.
The second component is the Also Safe Home Sweet Home seminar. Andrew, everybody gets educated on facts, statistics, warning signs, definitions of abuse, the difference between abuse and discipline, What constitutes a good relationship? What are the warning signs of a bad relationship? So, and adults and children alike get educated. With the policy and the seminar, the book is a staple, and we use the book to teach kids speak out. And we realize they can lie. Kids can lie because they're afraid of their abusive parents. We get it. But I know from experience that abusive parents and step parents can only keep their poker face on for so long.
Yeah.
Then their abusive true colors come out, and we will direct the child and say, who do you feel safe with? Is there an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend that you feel safe with? And we will get that child to that person. So these are all items that are planted. We're planting seeds, essentially, planting the seeds. So that's the policy, the seminar. The third component is the app. I hired a software company to, according to my specifications, where the app will detect violent-like movements and captures them in real time, issuing alerts to the landlord or the property owner. So let's say you have 10 units. Oh, I just got an alert. You just beat the crap out of her in my unit 2, and you just beat the crap out of him in my unit 10. That's grounds for eviction. You knew that this was going to happen. You are held to a higher regard, a higher standard in an OSO safe certified property. You got to go. The fourth and final component is therapists assigned to the property. In an OSO safe certified property, you are required to check in with your therapist once a month. Is everything okay? Do you feel like anything is looming? Well, Mr. or Miss Therapist, our kid came home with bad grades. We're not going to beat him or her up. We know better, but we really don't know how to handle this. Can you help us out? So all of these components working together makes for safer residency, a better home, a respectful home. This is proactive versus waiting for an episode of violence to occur. Bad news travels fast, and before you know it, your respectful tenants or residents leave, and then you're stuck with the abusive family. We flip all of that. And also, our logo gets placed outside of the property to declare this property OSO safe certified. So that way, any pedestrian or vehicle traffic looking for a place to live, wow, I know what that logo means. I would rather raise my child in an OSO safe certified property versus one that isn't. They have mechanisms and systems in place to diminish and even prevent violence, abuse, chaos, dysfunction. So real estate is where it's at. So as a real estate agent, this is an excellent tool, asset to have in promoting and improving my business, and just having it build momentum to really take off.
Completely makes sense. And I think there are a lot of people out there that will get ancillary things like a real estate, I had a real estate license as well. And it just has it as a side hustle because it gives me the ability to now tap into resources I couldn't be able to tap into if I didn't have that license. So, I get it. That's amazing. And I like the also safe certification that you have where it's a very proactive thing. I like that a lot because a lot of times we hear stories about it's too late. Things, we found out too late, things happened too late. Being proactive about it is, and I think it adds a level of accountability for people in the property as well, where I know I'm going to be held accountable. I'm now holding myself accountable, and things are going to be quite different. So I like that proactive accountability side of things. I do want to go in
Thank
really
you.
quickly, but I want to go to your book, Home Safe Home for You and Me. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yes, this is I wanted to create a children's book that really spoke to children, like I said, that really gives them voice and choice, and also to make them feel unashamed about their home situation if they're not safe at home. And I want to say the book is very inclusive, whether you're safe at home or not safe at home. So also safe kids, excuse me, is not just for kids that are not safe at home, all kids. So we're trying to create unity and inclusivity, and where the also safe kids that are safe at home can help those that are not safe at home. So it's a very inclusive book. And I explain like the difference between respect and disrespect, abuse and non-abuse, and how you could be living in an apartment building and you're not safe at home, or you could be living with grandma and you are safe at home. It's not necessarily mommy and daddy or two moms or two dads and everything is perfect. No, maybe dad is beating up mom, maybe mom is beating up dad. So, and I explain that uh, that this is not your fault. It is not your fault. It never will be your fault. And to encourage them to speak out. And I introduce also the concept of like if abuse happens, when the fighting stops, find a safe place anywhere in your apartment or home and just breathe, do deep breathing, and that they like to give them tools, like if they want to express their feelings, they could express them on post-its, or they can punch a pillow and get their anger out. Because they'll start blaming themselves. I remember growing up, I felt my parents made me feel so responsible for their horrible marriage. I can't tell you how heavy of a burden that was from a young girl. I mean, through I would say middle school, uh, and that's what abusive parents will do. So I explain how it is not your fault, and that and I introduce this, which I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on just on this page. Know that for the moment, which means right now, you are safe. Just to even plant that seed, stay in the moment. Don't think about yesterday. Don't think about tomorrow. Right now, you're breathing. The fighting stopped for now. You're safe right now. And then I go on to introduce the Oh So Safe Kids cheer. And I say to them, who do you feel safe with? Is it mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, an uncle? Just think about it, kids. Who do you feel safe with? And I say, if you're not ready to say, that's okay. We meet them where they're at. So if they're too scared, if they're not ready, that's okay. And the cheer goes like this: I want to live where I am also safe, and I am also safe with, and they get to fill in the blank, whether it be an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend. So all of this is introduced in the book, and that the goal is to get every property OSO safe certified and every child free to live their best life. And that means respect. So and it is a staple in all properties. It kind of lays the groundwork, to empower these kids to the fullest,
Yeah.
the fullest possible.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, to segue into that as well, I always have one more question that I ask everyone at the end of the podcast, and that is, what is one book or podcast that you can recommend that you can give to the audience as kind of a give back on the podcast? So what book or podcast? I'm very liberal with how I define that. So I've had people double dip. I have people do one of each, whatever feels best for you. But what
Sure.
do you think? Yep.
I have to say, all the podcasts that we've been in on, they're so great. I'm in such deep gratitude of all of them, because They're such a great way to promote your business, promote your products and services. I thank every single podcast host that said yes to us. So all the podcasts that we've been on are great. As far as a book, my therapist actually recommended, and this is when I first started going to her, Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow
Mm,
by Marcia Sinatar.
okay.
And because I was afraid to pursue dance,
Mhm.
but she knew in my bones, in my DNA, I'm a dancer.
Mm.
So she said to me in a session, Sabrina, go read that book. Read that book. And she said, you're a dancer. Go dance. Your parents stole enough from you. You're a dancer. Go dance. So when I read the book, it just kind of it neutralized a lot of my fears, that I'm too old, or I'm going to be in competition with so many people that have been doing this so long. uh I'm not good enough. Between my therapist and that book, it I got rid of the fear and I just went for it. And I'm a dancer, so yeah.
Understood. Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Sabrina, for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate having you here, and I appreciate the mission that you're on. I think it's really important. And so it's honored to have you here. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thanks again for joining us on the Hustle and Grind podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Sabrina, check out the links in the description.